everyone who has been to elementary school and gotten in trouble, what's the first thing that people do when they get in trouble? Kobe Bryant did it.
Yeah, tattletale.
I ain't the only one doing it.
Yeah, you can point.
Shaquille doing the same thing, right? And so they point to others to show that what they're doing is not necessarily awful and is really something that people like them do. And so I've said it at the very beginning, is that there is a world that many of us don't know about with people with this kind of money and this kind of access, that they live differently than us.
Real life.
It ain't real life. Just ain't real. Real life street stars. You know what time it is.
Real life street stars. Hold on. We got him back in the building. Once again, Larry Taylor, the real life lawyer, Esquire, debonair, all those things. First and foremost, happy Father's Day.
And happy Father's Day to you guys too, man.
Thank you. And thank you for even allowing us your time on this Father's Day to come in. We didn't get a chance to, of course, wrap up week 4. We are just now, of course, wrapping up week 5 in the Diddy trial. And I want to start with that as far as, one thing that we don't hear about in these trials like this is how children are affected by the trials and going through trials and having to go and watch a parent or whatever. Right now we're speaking on fathers, of course, with Diddy, but watching a father go through this, how trying is it on the family, and how do attorneys assist with that, the mental fortitude of the children?
Usually I'm on the side of I'm representing Ms. Ventura. And I'll be honest with you, I've been thinking about this the entire time. This is going to be devastating. And so it was really brave of her to do this. But you have to remember, just like we've seen in the past, people who've done adult films who've retired and later had children, when their children find out what they did and their children's friends find out what they did, how devastating that is. And so in this instance, there are some pretty hard-hitting one-liners or facts that took place during this trial that her children are one day going to have to deal with it. And so we always make sure and always encourage that a portion of the funds are set aside to assist the children through those dark periods, because they are coming, because kids are mean and people are mean. And so I really feel sorry for her children. As far as Sean Combs' kids, I think all of his kids are for the most part, over 21.
Right.
And so they're adults, and some of them probably had either seen glimmers of what their father was doing.
But probably was partaking in as well, maybe?
I wouldn't go that far as far as saying.
That far.
I'm not going that far as far as saying partaking. But you do see they probably did see their father yell at people. They probably seen some physical altercations, and they probably seen his demeanor, and they've definitely seen him with multiple women. And so all of that, I don't really see that affecting them too much, other than the fear of having to deal with law enforcement. I think that is the one thing that they'll probably take away from this.
In your mindset, as far as Diddy settled originally with Cassie?
Not soon enough.
Not soon enough, but within 24 hours. I don't know how he got to the point where the lawsuit became public. But most people settle because they don't want either their family members to know things. Some things are left best behind closed doors. For him to, of course, settle with that, but not take a plea deal and choose to go forward with this court case, that means he was probably willing to he knew this stuff was going to come out. Like, he knew they had the records. They raided his house. They took hard drives. You know what's on hard drives. You know what's out there. Again, towards the family, towards the children, do you feel like, even with them having to testify a lot of the stuff during week 1 and the kids walking out to hear Cassie's testimony, things that they probably, especially the daughters, did not want to hear. What do you feel the mindset is? Of course, I know he's not guilty. He said he's not guilty. But knowing like what's legally, what can be kept like from the public side? Like they're not showing videos.
Right.
Only the jury's going to see those videos of the freak offs. What can be kept if a person doesn't want certain things out only for the jury to see, but not the public to know?
Really, it's up to the government. It's up to the government and the victims in this situation, or alleged victims, depending on how you feel about it. And so it's different from a civil case, but within a criminal case, with someone who is guilty of witness tampering, extortion, and things of that nature, the government is going to take the stand that they have to protect these witnesses and those who are involved so that they can keep their case moving forward and it's not tampered with. And if people who are close to Puffy or who have a strong tie to the organization know who these individuals are, they run the risk of being harassed or even possibly injured. We've seen instances where people have such a strong stance on things that they actually react violently. We just saw it this weekend with the shooting of the elected officials.
Yeah, so it's crazy how they set that up. And we'll touch on that. So as this trial is going forward, we're going to be jumping around as far as week 4 and week 5. But the first thing we would want to touch on is, of course, Kanye West arrives at trial to support his friend.
Right.
For those that don't know, how is, and especially with Diddy's trial, like how can people come be a witness to it? We hear a lot of YouTubers are out there, a lot of content creators are out there. I know you normally need a media pass to even be part of the media to go in and kind of address it, but someone like a Kanye West, can he just go and sit in on Diddy's trial? Like, is that a thing that they'll allow?
One of the reasons why the term the People's Court was framed is because everyday citizens have a right to enter into these courtrooms to see how these proceedings are going. And so even though he is a celebrity, he still has what, quote unquote, a right. The difference in this particular instance is that he may have been kept out of the main gallery only because they may feel that it will tamper with the jury. Because if the jury sees that someone such as a Kanye West is willing to come in there and support Mr. Combs, it could sway the jury, or that they could feel like it could sway the jury. And so they don't want any outside circumstances or extraordinary events to shape the mind or change the trajectory of this case and leave it solely on the facts.
Understandable. Yeah, Kanye is a big figure. It's interesting because the same day he came, they mentioned the Jane Doe, of course, whose name hasn't been revealed now, but the Jane Doe had mentioned as far as pulling up to the situation with a very well-known rapper.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was the prosecution wanted to they should be able to speak on who the rapper is.
No, it was the defense.
The defense wants to say, hey, we should be able to say who the rapper is. And the prosecution, moved against that as far as we don't need to know. First and foremost, give us your take as far as the defense wanting the rapper's name to be mentioned, that we should, if this is a court of public opinion, we're going to fight this in the public, then we need to know who's all involved in this and them not letting the rapper's name out.
So everyone who has been to elementary school and gotten in trouble, what's the first thing that people do when they get in trouble? Kobe Bryant did it.
Yeah, tattletale.
I ain't the only one doing it.
Yeah, you can point.
Shaquille doing the same thing, right? And so they point to others to show that what they're doing is not necessarily awful and is really something that people like them do. And so I've said it at the very beginning, is that there is a world that many of us don't know about with people with this kind of money and this kind of access, that they live differently than us. I mean, the things that we see on social media, they're not there for no reason, right? I mean, and I'm not trying to take a shot at anyone, but you have a person who is attractive and you see him in his lavish lifestyle, But when you hear them speak and they open their mouth, you're like, clearly, you're not running a empire or a business because you can't, right? Just from the way that they're carrying themselves and speaking, you automatically assume, okay, it's something else behind all of this stuff that you receive and all the stuff that you're around. And so I think you shine a light on the lifestyle and the access, and that everybody has this access, and it's not necessarily just Sean Combs. He's not the only one.
Would you like to take a stab at who that rapper was?
I absolutely will not.
Okay.
I absolutely will not. But I will throw the phrase out there, a hit dog will holler. And so
I thought you were gonna say like, she takes my money.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No. Matter of fact, good friend of mine, I'm not gonna say her name, but she was actually the lead model in that video. And
very dope.
And so she's married to one of my best friends.
I'm gonna go back and watch. I'm gonna go back and watch the video.
She's married to one of my best friends.
Amazing. So with that being said, Judge Mathis was just stopped by TMZ. Mm-hmm. And he said, technically based on what has happened up until this point, he would give Puffy 3 to 5 years state time for the things that he was doing, the domestic stuff and things like that. But statute of limitations is gone on that. So they're talking, what the feds are looking for. But he said if this was a state crime, he would say, oh, yeah, he's guilty 3 to 5 years, call it a day. But the feds are seeking a bigger thing with this RICO. I know we asked you last time as far as what percentage you feel he's going to probably be found guilty. Has that percentage changed at all based on the last 4 to 5 weeks of testimony?
No, not really. And I'll break it down for you,
yes,
right?
Please.
And so...
And let them know what percentage you feel it is or what...
I still think it's 70-30. I still think it's 70-30. Because you have all kinds of issues, and we'll touch on that. You got issues dealing with the black juror who the government wants off of the jury pool. Off of the jury. And so that's that. But when you look at this case and you break it down from the sex trafficking to the prostitution to the actual RICO, I think the RICO is going to be that low-hanging fruit that all of the jurors, regardless of what they agree upon, can agree upon that there is something there in regards to him having people bring in drugs, having people fly in drugs, and having people solicit or pay for individuals that ended up performing sex acts. Mm-hmm. Because one of the guys, I think it was the Punisher, who stated that he really wasn't there. I think one of them said that they weren't hired to have sex. They were just kind of hired there to kind of be a active model.
Right.
And it just kind of rolled into
natural things.
Yeah, a sexual act. And so that just further makes that murky. But prostitution and RICO, sex trafficking, they're going to have a very difficult time with that one. And so when you ask me what percentages is he cooked or he could potentially go to jail, that RICO, I think, is going to be the thing that they're going to get him on.
So we talked, or this came out, of course, last week, and week 4 was the bribery. Him asking for that video, paying the money for it. The guy wasn't trying to give it to him, saying, hey, I don't want to take your money. That I don't even have access to it. Going to the manager of the hotel to offer him money, and the manager saying, hey, I want $50,000, you can have it. And then, of course, him ultimately spending allegedly $100,000 to get this video. That in itself, just legally, is that bribery?
Can we take a step back?
Let's take a step back.
Sean Combs, who initiated the conversation between Sean Combs and the hotel?
I believe it was not Sean Combs. It was, I think, either KK, his assistant, or Cassie.
It was the hotel.
It was the hotel.
If I'm not mistaken, it was the hotel. It was the original guy basically saying, hey, you guys might want to know, we got this stuff on film and we record this stuff and it's pretty damaging. And so Sean Combs was nervous about it, didn't really know what to do. And so it kind of orchestrated itself into them paying him. And they really, in a sense, if I'm the defense, they extorted this man. And
I didn't know that. I thought it was more so they were seeking the video, and Sean Combs didn't get involved until it was time for him to get involved, to get on the phone and talk to the guys. But it was his people asking for that first. But if it's the other way around, where they let them know we have this and you guys may want to get this, that actually changes some things. So that is interesting.
So we'll take a look and see how that plays out. But I do remember that, I vaguely remember that the hotel staff made the contact with Sean Combs' staff in regards to this video being out there. And so it becomes, and I think the whole thing was, oh, this is not a shakedown. It's just, I'm just letting you know that it's out there and that, you know, with the right amount of incentive, we could potentially get our hands on it. And so that in itself is problematic. But I'm going to take it back a step further. You know, because a lot of people are saying that, and the government's trying to say that they're trying to cover up a crime, right? And I had this conversation with you guys last time. If I'm driving a car, and let's just say this, you, viewer, you driving a car, you smoking marijuana, you end up hitting somebody from the back. Not major, but you hit someone from the back. And you walk up to them and say, oh man, it ain't much. Here's $500. Here's my telephone number. If it's more than that, I'll give you a little bit more. Don't worry about calling the police. Don't worry about calling the insurance. Everybody has heard or known someone or heard a story of someone doing that.
Facts.
That person is just as guilty as Sean Combs, because smoking marijuana is the first step, and driving a car is the first step of driving under the influence.
Right.
So you literally paid them not to call the police and not to report this, because you too could have ended up getting arrested if the police came out there. If they smelled marijuana on you, if they smelled marijuana coming from your car, they could have arrested you for driving under the influence. And depending on what state you're in, is driving under the influence or driving while intoxicated. And so that's where I think as a defense attorney, you kind of lay that track out there and make people say, there was no active investigation, so therefore I wasn't really covering anything up.
Right.
It'd be different if the police came knocking on the door and say, hey, do you have a videotape? And then I'm like, hey man, the police came by looking for a tape.
Right.
That's totally different setup.
Right. So what crime did Diddy commit? Like, I'm watching this, like, what did he do wrong?
I mean, we're gonna definitely say the drugs, because they got the drugs from his home. They tested it. And everyone has spoken about the drugs that they use. The victims have admitted that they used drugs. Staff has said that he used drugs. They've said that they've taken drugs from LA to New York and all these different places. And so all of that being part of quote unquote trafficking of narcotics. It's still.
How much drugs did they find?
The thing is, it's not the amount. And let's just be honest, the drugs that they're talking about are felonies everywhere. We're not talking about 6 ounces of marijuana or something of that nature. We're not talking, because even a gummy is a felony in Texas. So those of you listening in other places, don't bring your gummies to Texas, because if you get stopped, you're going to get hit with a felony. So,
a THC gummy we're talking about, right?
Yes.
Okay.
A THC
Not
gummy.
a CBD gummy, but a THC.
It might be illegal soon.
Yeah. We'll talk about that later. Texas repealing all of their CBD and THC laws.
Oh yeah, I saw that on the news.
But for the most part, nah, man, you come here with a gummy, you trafficking.
Right. So again, like there's just so many people that just do drugs.
Right.
Right.
But I think drugs are a higher hurdle for the defense to clear than the sex.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there any way that you could see, I know I've asked this before, but is there any other way that he gets life from this? Do you see him getting life from anything he did? Or
I mean, it just depends on what the jury comes back with.
what I'm saying, I'm just looking at the case and like, what did he do though?
The federal guidelines are absolutely crazy. You know, we talked about, did I talk about it here? I think I spoke about it just recently about having a firearm as a felon.
Right.
State law says that in Texas that after so many years of not getting in trouble as a felon, you can carry a gun.
Right.
The feds don't say that. The feds say if you've been convicted of a felony anywhere, you cannot hold a firearm. And if you get caught with one, it's an automatic 5-year bid.
Right.
5. Not 3, not 2, not 1, 5. And so the sentencing guidelines and the feds are totally different than what you might see at the state level. Because if you get caught with a gun at the state level, somebody might give you 2 years at the max if you weren't committing a crime in the essence of, or in conjunction with having that gun.
You know, we have to speak on Jane Doe. You know, she testified for like 6 days.
Right.
And she finally like released her name because she had a lawsuit that came right after Cassie's lawsuit, or in September of 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Just when you see, just for those who don't know what a Jane Doe or John Doe, when they come into a trial and they don't want their, you know, that means she was subpoenaed, I'm assuming, and did not want to speak.
No, doesn't mean that.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that. Are you asking me that?
What makes someone go under the pseudonym Jane Doe?
Like I said before, to protect their identity, to protect her kids. I mean, she stated it, and it's been said numerous times. This woman has a child by a well-known artist who she's getting over $5,000 a month for in child support. She is someone who's probably known in the industry. She has a kid, and all the allegations surrounding Sean Combs and the interfering and the threats and the coercion, all of those things lay ground for the public not knowing who she is in order to protect her and her family.
So Kid Cudi could have came in as a John Doe.
No, Kid Cudi wasn't a victim.
Oh, okay.
In a sense. Yeah, he wasn't a victim in a sense. And so
car blew up.
Yeah, well,
allegedly.
Yeah. I mean, all of that stuff is circumstantial in a sense, that because I don't think we still don't know who threw the bottle at the car.
Correct.
So everything else is speculation.
Okay. All right.
How come they're not giving Kid Cudi the snitching jacket?
Some people are. I mean,
I haven't seen it.
The internet is.
I don't even know if they're not even giving him the black jacket. I mean, they're like, he's on the other side of it.
I saw something on the internet where they had kind of a Marvel theme, and he had on a rat uniform.
Oh yeah, when he said Diddy looked like a Marvel supervillain.
Yeah,
that means you must come in some other form, son. That's crazy. Let's talk about the juror that is possibly going to get dismissed. Can you speak on what that was and why the judge is looking to dismiss one of the jurors?
Yeah, they are saying that he did not answer truthfully during the jury selection process. When you put your address of where you live, or you're asked about where you live, he put New York. And he made the comment, evidently, he oversold it, right? This is one of the things why.
Like he wanted to be?
That's the thing. They're saying that he lied because he wanted to be on the jury. Because this is all full out what I've read and what I've heard and seen on documents. This guy stated that he lived in New York with his fiance and kid, while in essence, he still has that residence in New York, still gets mail in New York, but he actually lives with his girlfriend or fiance and kid somewhere else, like New Jersey, somewhere out of the jurisdiction of the court. And so the judge is looking at this as you're having alternative motives for you wanting to be on this jury, and you lied to be on this jury.
Wow. How strong of a case will may he get dismissed? And when it comes to dismissal, they normally have three. I think they had 3 jurors like backup reserves. And do those jurors like listen in on the trial, or they get caught up to speed, or are they?
No, they're there for the whole duration.
Okay, so they're just watching, but not
Right.
actually going to be part of it unless something like this comes up.
Right. They're kind of in the bullpen, like a pitcher.
There you go.
So they're warming up. They may get called into the game. They may not. But it's not, what he did is not entirely wrong, right? Like
Entirely.
For watch this. Ask me where I live.
Where you live?
Where I have my house.
Where's your house located?
I have a house in Dallas.
But where do you sleep? Where do you lay your head on a daily basis?
And see, that's the question. Because I have a house in Dallas. I have a house in Houston.
People have multiple residences.
Right. Yeah. And I have multiple residents, and it just depends on my caseload and where I need to be. And so I could actually, what if I'm 50-50? And if I'm 50-50, do I have the ability to claim where I live? Because I'm in both places almost equal amounts of time. And so I've said it 100 times. Everything is perspective as far as what someone has or what they're able to do. And so supersizing a meal might be a grand gesture for someone who's homeless. And, buying a Maybach cash might be something that is extraordinary for the average working day person. And so it just depends on where you are in life. And so if this guy has 2 homes and he's going back and forth with both, I don't think it's strong enough to knock him off the jury.
Do you believe George should get paid?
Jurors?
Yeah.
I think it would help.
Yeah,
I think it would help because
I mean, jurors do get paid though, right?
well, man,
It's $5 an hour.
Yeah, it's
$5 a day.
it's not enough for someone to sustain.
But they get paid time off on most corporate jobs.
So living in this new era, I highly doubt it, and it can be taken against you or used against you for doing it.
Good.
And so someone would
Right. And then I'm thinking like some things that they might show you in the courtroom was some shit I probably would never ever look up or see myself. And now I'm traumatized because you done said, see, I'll be like, bro, I would take this. I would get Larry. I'll hire Larry. Hey, man, I'm traumatized. I'm suing the city because I did not want to see any child pornography or anything crazy that they showed me.
No, they warn you about all of that during the jury.
But do you have to look at it as a juror? Or?
Yeah. You have to be 100% all in. But the real danger is this. Ask yourselves, and viewers, ask yourself, who is able to take off for 8 weeks?
I mean, listen.
What did I tell you earlier, or a couple of weeks ago? How old is basically half the jury? The majority.
Oh yeah,
of the
you
jury?
said it's older. Yeah, they're older.
They're over 50.
Yes.
Right? And so when you have long trials like this, you get retirees, stay-at-home parents, because dads stay home too, stay-at-home parents.
Happy Father's Day.
Or you get people who don't work, but yet and still have a selective as far as what they want to sit on juries for, or they may not want to sit on a jury. But those are typically the only people.
I mean, back when I was in corporate America, they would say if you have jury duty, you're allowed that time off, wherever how long it's going to be.
Yeah.
And you will get paid.
Okay.
He's okay until you come.
Okay.
Your desk is empty.
Okay.
So we don't give a.
Joker, you're going to be gone for 8 weeks? That's just enough time for us to train Bill.
Right.
By the time you come back, he'll probably be at the same speed you are.
So can you opt out of jury duty? Like, can you opt out? Like,
man, everybody's been in that room for jury duty.
Yeah.
When people say, man, I got paralysis, I got an ear infection, I had 3 kids.
Yeah. Schoolwork, I got.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm enrolling in college today.
Yeah, today, right.
All these things that they have in place. And I mean, to be honest with you, it would be hard for me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm so.
Halt your life to go listen to freak offs.
Well, it's not necessarily halting your life because it's something that we all should do. But, you know, when I weigh the options of I'm representing someone in a trial or in a case, and 8 weeks of preparation and working my case is crucial.
Yeah.
That's 8 weeks that my opponent is getting ahead of me.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'm weighing my options as far as, okay, who can I get to plug in for me? Who can do this? And how much access would I have so that I don't miss a beat when I get out of here? All those things are considerations that the average American has to make. Especially think about it. You're a single mom.
Come on. Strong.
You're a single mom. Who's picking up your kids?
Come on.
Matter of fact, you gone 8 weeks. Who's going to feed your kids and pay your rent?
You're all right. Don't go rob a bank.
So back to the question, should they be paid? I think in certain circumstances, there should be stipends allowed for those who are in those situations to be able to be compensated so that they can do their legal obligation. And at the same time, we can get a better representation on jury pools.
Yeah, no, I was in a 8th grade play, To Kill a Mockingbird, and I got picked to play the juror. And
you probably opted out of that.
Yeah, I said I would never again. Never in life again. Not even in the 8th grade play. But so it does go to speak to, like, you know, the juror who chose to lie, or not lie, but say he stays in New York. A lot of people, the Punisher, you're good friends with Woody after the YSL trial. A lot of people find, and even with the OJ trial, people find ways to create careers of being in high profile cases, whether jury, whether just a witness or whatever. Do you see that people, whoever's part of this jury, may create, write books? They're allowed to do that after once the trial is done. They're right to speak on how they went through it. So these are sometimes looked at as opportunities to further one's life, especially in this social media era. Would you say that?
I would agree. I mean, it is carpe diem, seize the day. And I think the person who probably had the best chance of doing that was the stylist.
Yeah, come on.
Because he was entertaining, he was engaging, the jury liked him, the audience who were listening or people in the courtroom liked him. And so there was an opportunity for him to catapult that and really use it. I think I even said during one of our dialogues is that he is the Woody of this trial, in the sense that he is the person who kind of took over and on the defense side danced around and really gave them a difficult time getting what they wanted out of him.
Yeah, I kind of saw the Punisher. I'm seeing him making his media rounds. You know, he was just on with Cameron, It Is What It Is, or whatever the podcast Cameron had with him. And he just blatantly asked him, like, man, how was Cassie, bro? And I'm like, the trial's still going on. And yet he's out here having interviews just talking about, just like, can either the prosecution or the defense say, hey, because I know Woody was out doing the same thing. So what process, once you go on stand, can if the court is still, of course, trying to find either if the verdict's going to be guilty or not guilty, do they have any ability to shut up either a witness or anyone's testimony or anyone going on to just kind of further, kind of bring forward whatever their story is that they maybe didn't say on trial? Or can they get brought back in based on, hey, you went on this podcast and talked about this, which you didn't talk about? That's brought more questions. We need you to come back in now. We've seen that.
Yeah. That all of what you just said can happen. Judge can put out a gag order. When I worked on the Travis Scott trial, okay,
the Houston,
Astroworld.
Yeah, Astroworld, yes.
There was a gag order put out, and I think I did an interview with Rolling Stone, and after that, and so even the new Netflix documentary, I was called to speak on that, and I couldn't. I couldn't speak.
I mean, that gag order is just papers at the end of the day.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Find yourself next to Diddy.
I like sleeping in my own bed.
Right.
And
not a cot.
Yeah, and I'm not big on. No, man, I haven't slept on a cot since elementary.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? That ain't my thing. And I don't even know if they have to change them things out or clean them.
You can't even ask, even if you care about it. Like, it's dirty in here.
Yeah.
So we don't give a
No, so I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, it does bring me to Diddy.
What day they say?
Oh,
when he leave, I'll be talking again.
I'll be talking again. For real. Diddy, the judge was going to recuse him because he was looking at the jury and like nodding. Is that like, and I don't know the context in which he was like nodding. I haven't looked far into it, but for them to say, we're going to get you out of here because you keep looking at the jury nodding, is that like a form of intimidation or just approval or just playing on their pity or their, what is that? Manipulation? Like looking at them, blinking, winking at them, like you can't do none of that?
I love this question. Why? Because it goes back to an earlier interview that we did. I said before, you have to watch your client. You have to watch their demeanor because they can win or lose a case for you. And so if a question is asked and it's hard hitting and they make a face or they get angry, jury picks up on that. Like I just said, hit dog or holler. And so they pick up on those things. And so what the judge is looking at as him sending subtle messages. You ever seen that movie Focus?
Yes.
One of my favorite movies. Why? Because it's a real thing. Him nodding. Remember during the football game, right?
Yeah.
They kept showing this guy a number that he was betting against. And the people who were showing the number he was getting, people were kind of nodding and giving him a signal like, oh, you see me. This is what you need to be looking at. And so you repeatedly get that type of affirmation on certain statements, then those statements become true. We do it when we communicate and we don't realize it. I just said something you agreed with and you started nodding your head.
Right.
You don't realize you're doing it, but you're doing it. And what that is letting me know that I'm in the right vein. That's ministers do it at church. Yep. You read people in a sense. And so what the judge doesn't want to do is to have Sean Combs interfere with the jury and the evidence, and by him nodding his head saying, okay, yeah, that stuff they said wasn't true because you didn't see me bob my head. But when I hear something that you should pay attention to, I'm gonna let you know because that's true. That's right. That's not right. That's not true.
Yeah, so you can't even nod your head or shake your head no?
I told you, I have my clients sit there, hands crossed, write a note. If you get upset, don't make a face, take a pen out, write on a sheet of paper, that's some BS or blah, blah, blah. Slide it to me, let me look at it so you felt like you got it out and let's keep it moving. Let's not tip our hands. Yeah, let's not tip our hands either way.
Do you think Diddy will take the stand?
We talked about that one too. I don't think so. I don't know if he has the temperament. I mean, because I'm going to go back to the fact that he's even here. When they sent him a copy of that lawsuit and he read it or his lawyer read it, someone should have said, pull up the Brinks truck and let's see how many bars of gold we can keep in the truck.
Well, do you think that the jail time may have humbled him?
No, not that quick, man.
That's a long time. I'd be humbled like, oh man, come on.
No, man. It's just something about having that complex.
Yeah.
And having that much power.
Right.
That doesn't just go away at the blink of an eye.
Do you think he still has power?
Yeah. He's paying Jane's rent.
Yeah, he's paying Jane Doe up until the time of her testifying against him.
Yes.
That's crazy. I'm getting my rent paid. You
And
staring at you like.
yeah, and I'm saying that to say he's in jail. Who's writing that check?
Man.
And if I got power to have people write a $10,000 a month check to take care of you, plus I'm pretty sure some other things that he's doing for and others, Doc, that's a little power.
You know, the Jane Doe, you know, after her testimony, you know, she talked about abusive relationships. She had said 90% of their...
Hold on. What's on that water bottle you're drinking?
Shout out to Reallyfe.
You too can get a real life lawyer water bottle.
Come on now. Branding is big. Branding is key. Now, Jane Doe, she had said 90% of their sexual escapades was with other men.
Right.
After her testimony, Diddy was seen crying, like wiping a tear away from his eye. Do you feel like in this trial, Diddy is now possibly having remorse just from hearing that? Like, man, I really was out here wilding.
Man, look, this is speculation. He could have just had a reflection of the fact that he probably really liked this woman.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
And when she said that and he reflected back, he would be like, damn, I didn't spend as much quality time with her as I thought I was. I was so caught up in this other stuff that I didn't really spend the time with her that I should have. And now I may never get that opportunity.
Man, that's real. That's real.
I mean, people do that, man.
Yeah, no, they dated, I believe she said, for 3 years. And for her to go up there and actually speak her feelings and what she took from the relationship and what she wanted, because I think it was a situation where she asked about money, or there was some money that she asked for. And the defense asked like, oh, is that what you feel like you're worth? And then her response was, what does he think I'm worth? Like, that's
nope, not quite.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Not quite. Not quite. I'm gonna help you out. Hey, look, stop, pause.
Yeah,
stop texting and doing the comment right now. Stop. We're gonna clean that up. There was a situation in which there was a discussion on purses. And so Jane and the criminal defense attorney who was crossing her at the time, they knew each other. They had a relationship for knowing each other during the course of this whole investigation and case. And so they were talking about a particular purse. And so the discussion came in that, do you have one of those purses? How much of those purses? No, do you have one of those purses? And it's like, I'm sure you got one of those purses. And then the question was back to Jane, how much do you think the purse costs? Or how much does the purse cost? And Jane replied, how much does my body cost? Mm. And so that was an interesting dialogue, because there's some people that I've spoken with who feel that that was that young woman's cry to say that she was being prostituted for items.
Yeah.
There are other people who said, you think highly enough of your body that your sex with you is worth a $5,000 or a $10,000 bag. And depending on which side the jury takes, that can go badly. Because if a juror says, hey, young lady, so you're okay with selling yourself for $5,000? $10,000? Okay.
Okay.
And it kind of goes to him paying for the house and other things. That is it really sex trafficking if you are negotiating what you're receiving in order to commit these acts?
Right. They asked her, why didn't you just move? I mean, and she's like, well, I have a son and to uproot and, do all this stuff. So she was in a situation where I don't want to say she was a slave to the situation, but she was comfortable enough to say, I'll keep receiving your money and keep showing up. And
for everybody who usually gives Joker a hard time,
yeah, please.
That was a compassionate statement that he made about this young lady.
I know.
So I want to go ahead and give you credit.
Yeah, thank you.
A gold star for that. However, I am going to say this. I said it last time. Lots of people have jobs. And we've seen movies, we've known people who said, I'm not dealing with this. I don't care. I'm out. According to her own testimony, her OnlyFans and what she received from child support was enough potentially to cover her bills without him. The only caveat to that is she had ran up debt previously that put her in a bad situation. Now, once again, ask yourself as a juror, because most of them are over 50, how sympathetic are you going to be to someone who is quote unquote struggling because they've created or amassed all this debt, but yet and still is fascinated with a 10,000 square foot home in Los Angeles and upset because the purse that she received isn't as expensive as the purse that Young Miami received. Okay. And so as someone who's older, the question, and you don't even have to be older, some people may say, where are your priorities? Right? You didn't say, hey, can you pay off my credit cards? You didn't say, can you pay my student loans? You're upset about a $3,000 to $5,000 bag.
Yeah. That's facts. Jeez. Larry, if you don't mind me asking, as this trial is going into week 6 now, it was scheduled for, I believe, 8 weeks. So now technically we have another 3 weeks left. When you see where this trial is going, I believe that does the defense kind of run the trial after this, like as far as they're going to kind of have their way, do their thing to kind of show that a lot of stuff was consensual. There's no real, maybe Diddy wasn't even involved in a lot of this stuff, but other parties were. Do you see what their game plan may be after Jane Doe got off the stand? And of course, we got a lot of testimony from a lot of people, including Cassie. Do you see what their strategy may be going forward?
We'll know more Monday. When the summation witness for the government comes up and starts connecting all the dots, we'll see where the defense goes. Because I think, honestly, the racketeering is going to be the one thing that they're probably most concerned about. And they're probably really going to attack that because the government really didn't spend a whole lot of time laying down those tracks. And then they're going to do that and then attack the character of these women. And then also potentially attack the male prostitutes.
Yeah.
Because they're probably going to say, was he really paying for you to have sex with her, or you guys were just cool and he was just paying your expenses?
So some of them may come back to, of course, they could call them right back. Hey,
or someone could testify as to the relationship and the expenditures. So it can go a number of different ways.
You think the trial can go longer?
It's possible. It's possible because the judge can't shorten the defense's time. He or she basically needs to walk a line down the middle. You can't give the government 6 weeks to try a case and then turn around and tell the defense you got 2 weeks.
Right, that's facts. But they normally do have an idea of how long this is supposed to take.
They have an idea, but they also, I think, have established that Jane's testimony went long.
Okay. It did. I want to ask you real quick, just kind of going off topic of Diddy real quick for a second, is I have to get your take on this, the No Kings protest.
Okay.
With Trump, of course, having his birthday celebration in 79. He was, of course, trying to do a parade. From the optics, it wasn't too crazy, but in Dallas and Houston, a lot of cities, of course, you have what's going on in LA with the National Guard getting pulled out, the government and the feds kind of just going back and forth about all this. I just want your take personally. It could be from an attorney standpoint, but from your standpoint, does much change come from peaceful protests?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
10,000 people in Dallas streets is a lot of people.
There were a lot of people in Dallas, and I was in Philadelphia. Yeah. And so there was protests right across the street from our hotel. Mm. And we watched the number of people, and more importantly, you watch the diversity of the people. It sends a message. And you could have elected officials in those areas who win by small enough margins that something like this could be something that will change their vote in the future. And
because maybe I just didn't stay in school long enough to understand how the presidency works, but Donald Trump could serve 2 terms. He cannot serve 3 terms consecutively. But these 2 terms, I think it might happen one other president, maybe 2, but
no, he's out.
Okay, yeah, he's done, right?
Right.
But they're working on him trying to rewrite that, right, or something.
I don't know if he's going to have the votes to do something like that.
Just now, because of the ICE.
Not just because of everything.
Right.
I mean, because people have to realize. I tell everyone this. When you throw a punch at someone who's a fighter, what can you expect?
A punch get thrown back.
Right. And so if you create an atmosphere and you create a lane for something like this, you also create a lane for something like this to be used against you.
That's true.
And do you want to open that door? And, one of the parties feels like they can open doors, kick them down, and nobody else is coming through them. But I mean, I don't believe that that's the case. So I know it was talks that constitutionally, if Vance would have won the presidency and he was vice president, he could take over. Vance could step down and then he moves up to president, and that term won't kind of get that wouldn't count as one of his years.
Wow. President could step down?
I mean, you look at what happened with Nixon. Step down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even Biden checked, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he finished it, but he sure wasn't about to finish it. It is interesting because, like you said, these protests is really for your local elected officials to see where that lands, and they have to pay attention to what's going on for the local government. Then, of course, it proceeds from there. Because I'm wondering what laws may change for a peaceful protest when you do it every day. And I always felt like, some change you got to kind of get violent sometimes. We don't advocate violence, but we've seen how the history of America has progressed. And sometimes, you talking about throwing punches, you actually got to hit somebody sometimes.
Well, I think the George Floyd protest really made some good changes. It didn't make the changes that we want in the federal government, but in states like Colorado and other states, there were versions of the George Floyd bill that were passed that will do some good, providing that they haven't been repealed this last legislative cycle. There is good that comes from that, and the appropriate pressure and the right pressure put on individuals to vote certain ways.
Yeah, there you go. We'll keep an eye on that as we probably come in for week 6 and speak, is maybe something that we definitely want to probably touch on further. What's going on in the world with ICE and all that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna.
Yeah.
I was gonna touch on that.
No. I mean, if you got a question.
I was just. Oh no, really not a question, but I guess it's a question. I just want to know, how do you feel about what's going on?
I think it's scary. I think it's scary that you have situations in which you have people who are here legally on visas or here legally visiting who are being detained and thrown in the camps. And then you have a lot of people who are U.S. citizens
Right.
who are being thrown in to these camps or arrested. That's a problem. That's a problem. That you're so aggressive that you could take a U.S. citizen and somehow process them out of the country and then turn around and do a oops and can't bring them back.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right. And this is just a question that, a lot of people look to you on this channel for, like, great advice, you know, and see you as a professional, classic man. I'm going to ask you, and this is a crazy question, but I have to ask because Reallyfe Street Starz. Is this the black man's fight? Should we stay in? Should we jump in this? Because it could easily be done to us. Not this scenario, but something like this. Things like this have been done to us.
This is my own personal opinion.
Yeah, it's just the only person. This is personal.
No, this is real.
Off the record, but
Public survey, personal.
This is Larry, right? This is Larry.
Right.
And I've said it before. At any time that any part of the Constitution is eroded, you run the risk of it eroding something that you need to protect you. I tell people all the time, I believe in the Constitution because the 13th Amendment allows people who look like me to be free.
Right.
It says that you can't own people. It also created prisons, but at the same time, it gave us an opportunity. It's one of the reasons why I wear this bracelet.
Explain the bracelet, please.
So this bracelet, even though it's a horse bit, it has the look and feel of almost like a slave shackle.
Right.
Ones that I've seen by visiting plantations in New Orleans. And it reminds me that I am just one stroke of a pen away from having and wearing something like this, regardless of if I've broken a law or not.
Right.
That there is a document that says that you can't do this to me.
Right.
Does it happen through the jail system? Yes.
Yes.
But we have at least a legal fighting chance, because without it,
There's no chance.
there is no chance. And so I tell people a large part of the reason why we are here where we are today is because we didn't do anything and stand up starting at Trayvon. We didn't do anything starting with the first Me Too before it became the actual Me Too. We allowed bad behavior to grow. We allowed lawlessness to grow. And when you allow things like evil to grow,
Right.
eventually it becomes like the empire,
Mhm.
like Star Wars. In Star Wars, it was like, hey man, these people over here doing some bad things behind closed doors. We need to put a stop to it. The senators, no, we'll worry about it later. They're not threatening. And then all of a sudden, the damn Death Star shows up and everybody was like, where did this come from? Right?
built on our
Boom, boom. So I hope I answered without
Right.
clearly answering it.
And then last thing I would say is, we're talking about race in our skin, right? Do you believe that we're innocent to proven guilty, or are we guilty to proven innocent?
That's an affirmative hell no. I mean, as soon as we walk into the door, we're guilty of something. Right? Not in everybody's eyes, but
The majority?
the media, film, news, for forever has depicted us as monsters. Even with this Sean Combs case, they're playing into the stereotype that we are sex crazed maniacs.
Nancy Grace be on Nancy Grace be on Diddy ass.
We sex crazed maniacs, right? Like we got everybody we see, we just want to jump on. Come on, man.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a situation where when you speak on the blacks and browns uniting for this, I know you saw that sheriff in Florida who said, we will allow protests, but if you throw a rock, that you start kind of letting things know what will be done, and if you punch an officer, attack an officer, you will be shot, graveyard dead. People will come pick up your belongings. To make a threat like that, just being the local sheriff, it was very reminiscent of the 60s, segregation times of yes, you're only allowed to do so much with this protest until, you step out of line. We're letting you know we're going to lynch you. Do you feel like when this becomes a peaceful protest, like what's going on with ICE and what they're trying to do, the one bad apple can ruin the whole bunch if you throw that one rock, you throw that one punch. It kind of ruins the whole situation.
Of course. How many times have all of us in elementary been going to recess, but little Bobby decided to act a fool, and the teacher's like, nah, we're not going outside today.
Everybody inside. Yeah.
Exactly. There's a little Bobby, a little Bobina, somebody out there that is so hell-bent on chaos that they're going to disrupt the natural order of change and peaceful change and do something out of because they want chaos.
There's a joker in every deck. I'm just saying.
Yes, we have talked about we had a chaos conversation last time.
We did.
We had a chaos conversation. So he's just tying into that.
Yeah. I want to make sure that people get you had a prize offering. And I want to reiterate that. I know we posted on our channel. We're going to still, of course, cut this out and post it here too. But can you reiterate the rules of your competition? Because I know some people want their rent paid.
So what we're doing now is we're giving away $500 to the first person who can guess how long it will take the jury to deliberate. So that means that as soon as everyone rests, makes closing arguments, and the jury is handed the jury charge and sent to the back to come back with a verdict, the moment they're sent back, the clock starts. And the first person who gets it right, and you have to give it as soon as they go in that back door and out the courtroom, you have to give the time in days, right? And so if it's
down to the hour, right?
Yeah, down to the hour. And I'm thinking about throwing some caveats. So chime in if you think this is worth it. But I am thinking about enhancing it. Enhancing the amount based on a tier. The person who gets it right, but also refers the most followers.
Oh, I like that.
Gets.
What are you going to enhance the amount to? You're thinking about it? Or we'll discuss it later?
I'm thinking about it.
Okay,
I'm thinking about it. They got to chime in.
Okay.
Right? They got to chime in here. They got to go to Tailor-Made Conversations, and they got to go to Reallyfe on IG and TikTok to hear and subscribe so that they can know if it's been enhanced. And for those of you who've already put in your guesses, hey man, I appreciate you guys. I really do. I like the engagement. I like the fact that some of you guys have put in some real good thought on why you selected the time frame that you selected. And I really like that intellectual engagement because that lets me know that everyone out here is just not mindlessly moving around, that they're really thinking about what they're saying and moving around with purpose. So thank you for those of you.
You
guys.
like those longer reasons why? Like
I just like to hear what people are thinking.
Yeah.
I like to, because as a trial attorney, having an idea of where society is helps me in my trials. And so I'm leaving here, flying back to New York.
Yes.
And so I'm doing a deposition. And during my deposition, I take into account, when I ask questions, what does the jury want to hear? What do they want to know? And so listening, even though this case is totally different, it does give me a taste of where we are as a people, or as a country.
And yes, you just came in from New York. You're about to head back to New York. You're in the mix out there. But for those that want to know the rules, tell them again what they need to do to be a part of this, where they need to follow, what exactly they need to do.
Real Life Lawyer on Instagram and TikTok, and then Tailor-Made Conversations on YouTube. We have all the rules laid out. And so, like I said before, we may do an enhancement where if you bring some friends to join the competition, and we'll periodically be doing competitions here on Real Life every once in a while, especially if I can see a good angle to reach out and to do something fun, yeah, right?
We love it.
And keep it engaging. So I might do something like $50 if you can guess the color of my next suit. It's not a competition.
Yeah, but we like those type of things. We like the engagement. Yeah. It's very fun.
Or if I even wear a suit.
Oh yeah, hey, I don't know what that means. Pause, but I'm just no, but yeah, seriously, no, we love the community, and we love that those that reach out and feel like they're part of this community, because it is an ongoing conversation, and we do love it. With that being said, again, week 4 and 5 in the bank. Thank you for coming in. I know we're going to try to do some virtually, but again, we always love to have you in. And today is Father's Day, so we appreciate your time. And happy Father's Day once again. With that being said, we got him in the building. Larry Taylor, the Real Life Lawyer. You are a real life street star. Let go.
Shout out Reallyfe street stars, nigga. Move. Hey.